Really almost done with this, but CMOS, been doing this for a little bit, but today we're going to be talking about false expectations will turn you into a clown. And I'm going to give you guys a formula that I drew up for you guys, but I also wanted to share like my new like non-negotiable for my and this is also a really great face mask. So if you want to use like face mask, but yes, sea moss, and this is infused with Kangen water, alkalized Kangen water. Very, very good for keeping your immune system nice and strong, removes mucus, and great for thyroid health. Supports your nails, your skin, digestion, metabolism, heart health, and your libido, it says here. So, yes, but we're not here to talk about this. We're here to talk about false expectations. What's going on? Oh, yes. Yay. Reach out to me. Reach out to me. Okay, so today we're going to talk about false expectations. I want to ask you, who watching live has heard of if only I had blank, then I would blank? You guys want to bust out your notepads because I'm taking you to school tonight, okay? Well, I have an investment meeting in like 10 minutes, so we're going to be on for like 10 minutes. It's going to be like short and sweet, just like me. Okay, so who has said this before? If only I had blank, then I would blank. So write out your paper. If only I had blank, then I would blank. Can you guys see this? Oh, looks like it's a little foggy. I was in like hot yoga today, so let me clean this. Okay, maybe that works. So maybe take a screenshot of this. Take a screenshot of this. And what this formula is, number one, there's different energy systems in the body. And when this is off, it will block your ability, really block your blessings and block your ability to really move forward in business and in life. So when I get blank, which is the external, then I'll do blank, which is the internal. And so if you learn to flip it, so the key is when you flip it, then you actually end up getting what you wanted. I've had actually 3 conversations on this the last 2 days about false expectations and thinking like we're delaying our life and we're delaying receiving our blessings because we think that the external is going to allow us to feel the way that we want to feel within the internal. But when we learn to flip the switch, we actually end up getting what we want. Yes. Well, that's when I heal this, then I will blank. And it comes back to when you blank, when you reach out for help and support, then you will actually heal like 10 times faster. And I'll say like going through extreme things, I never did it alone. The key is to have a strong lineup to be able to support you, to give you the right resources and the right tools, because sometimes we sit in spaces we don't need to be sitting in for very long, and we've just kind of like delayed our ability to get to the next level because we just sat in that space when you don't need to be sitting in your poop for very long. We just don't know how to get out of it. So please do reach out, and we'd love to be a part of your lineup and a part of your support, even if it's just a conversation. So when I get blank, then I will blank the external. So I'm going to tell you a quick story. I learned this when I was getting heavily into energy psychology work and learning to clean up. You know, I do believe, I'm a believer in Jesus. I don't talk a lot about my spirituality and my faith because I don't like to scare people away. I've been in many different seasons. And when I was in a season of discovering getting closer to God, people that projected their faith on me actually turned me off. So I don't want to be that person for anybody else. I just like to lead by example and allow people to come up to me and ask me what the changes are and what the glow up is. And so when I was in this space of really cleaning up internally and taking ownership, that I knew that what I was attracting in my life was an external expression of what I was internally suppressing, I started really heavily getting and diving deep into energy psychology work and really understanding how to clean up patterns, how to clean up what I was bringing into my life, what I was allowing into my life, and what I was attracting into my life. And so when I first learned this equation was when I was on my journey several years ago I think I was about to sing to you guys, yo, several years ago, I learned this equation that was a complete game changer for me. And the key is when I get blank, which is the external. So when I think, and I'll give an example. So when I was 19, and I was transitioning out of ice hockey into the bodybuilding space because I think it's important to have something to replace something else with, or else you end up just getting super depressed and you lose an identity. And especially, I played for 9 years. So that was 9 years between being in season and off season. That was my life besides school, and that was just really my life. And so when I was going through this complete identity shift of letting go of who I had built myself and starting to build into a new phase, I had something to transition into, which was the bodybuilding space, when I had decided to start training for my first bikini competition at 19 years old. Well, actually, it was 18, and then I turned 19 because I had like a year of prep. And so when I was in this space, I thought that when I won my show, that I was going to have a career, and I was going to be famous, and I was going to just love myself, and I was going to receive approval and validation from others outside of me. And actually the complete opposite happened. So I had an expectation, so a false expectation, that once I achieved this, then my inner world would have fulfillment. My inner world was really just acceptance, approval, confidence, feeling wanted, feeling like I belong. Because my whole life I never felt like I belonged anywhere, which I forget who says it, but like, I belong everywhere, but I also belong nowhere at the same time. Finally get it. Took a while. So when I get blank, I thought that that would happen. Then I will have that internal. And the key is that once we actually achieve the internal, so what is it that I expect to receive or to have once I achieve that external, then I will most likely receive the external. So the thing is, the mind is so twisted because we have these false expectations that once we achieve something, especially as high-end achievers, that once we achieve that thing, then we will feel some type of way about ourselves. But the true line of success is creating the harmony with the internal and matching up the internal with the external. So once I have confidence and I get on that stage, then maybe I'll have a shot of XYZ, and that will project out into everything else in my life. Yes, honey. So that was the thing that I want to share with you guys, because I've had a few conversations on this topic. And one thing I do want to add to this is that everything is going to have a consequence. Everything is going to have a consequence. The key is to understand a consequence isn't a negative thing. It's actually just an outcome. So what is on the other side of the right now? What is on the other side of where you're at right now? And what I mean by that is, like, every decision you make on a day-by-day basis is going to have an outcome. It's going to have a consequence. The key to understand is a consequence is going to have a desired outcome, or it's going to have an undesired outcome. So when you think about the long game in mind, you get to reverse engineer all of your decisions, and you create. Yesterday I talked about creating, like, being in the flow state, being in the zone, which is really being in the present moment. That's the power of the present moment, is you really get to see things clearly. So when you're able to create that separation between the stimulus, so what's stimulating you, of where we want to be impulsive with our behaviors and the way that we respond to things, versus our response. So I kind of look at it as like, all right, you guys, your girl used to love her Oreo cookies and her Blizzards from McDonald's. I grew up on McDonald's after ice hockey practice, and like, that was like my kryptonite, okay, the Oreo cookies. And there's a whole study on, like, rats and heroin, which we're not going to get into tonight, but food addiction will get you even more than heroin. There have been studies shown, which we're not getting into today. So I digress. Hold on. Lost my train of thought. We're talking about Oreo cookies. Okay. So think about your reaction and your impulsive behavior like an Oreo cookie. And I don't know if you guys remember this. I'm an 84 baby, but think about where you're taking the Oreo cookie, and there was this commercial with kids, and they took the Oreo cookie and they they separated it and which one has the cream filling? And it was kind of like a win, kind of like a wishbone, you pull the wishbone apart and you're like, which one has it? And I make the wish and I won, that's just the whatever. Anyway, so think about your reaction and your impulsive behavior and your emotion as an Oreo cookie, where you're opening up the Oreo cookie and you're creating a space. So being fully present is allowing you to be in a space to be more rational versus intertwining and merging the reaction with the emotion. So when we get to create this space, so we think about the internal and the external and the consequences that I can do and I can have and I can be whoever I want, but how do I choose to feel? You're taking a moment to create that separation between the reaction and the response, just like an Oreo cookie. Chandler, my girl Chandler's on. What's up, you guys? So that's the importance of really thinking about what's on the other side of a consequence and knowing that every single day you have the ability to decide and to choose a lot better. All right. So I told you a little bit of my story too, and my story of how I came into this, and then also the false expectations of when we're in something and we think that we're going to achieve something on the other side, but really the expectation needs to be flipped around, and then you will achieve that thing. You'll achieve that thing. So I'll tell you a quick story too, besides just from myself, is I had a client I worked with a few years back. Thank you for being you too. I had a client that I worked with a few years back, and they thought that once they got their partner to get better, that then their relationship would get better. But then when it came down to with having doing some deep work and them finally understanding that, if you want change in your relationship, if you want change in your business, if you want change in your finances, if you want change in anything in your life, the change has to start with you. Everything is an internal job, and then the external will change, but the internal isn't going to change if you're solely focused on the external. It even comes back to I had another person I worked with, and they thought that once for me, once I thought my body changed, then I would receive love. But once I gave love into myself is when my body changed. When I talk back to when I competed in my bikini competition, that the only thing I ended up getting was really a food addiction and gaining 60 pounds from that, thinking and waiting for external validation and confirmation. So really what had to change was my whole perception. The whole perceptual shift had to change in order for life to change. And we really do have to start looking on cleaning up that inner vibrational cleanup in order for our external world to shift and change, and our expectations of what we're imposing on ourselves also needs to change, and then our whole outer world is going to change. So hopefully you guys received a lot of value from today. And getting back to that one client. So once everything happened, the whole relationship ended up turning just a whole 180 in such a beautiful way, where there's so much connection and so much conscious love versus all the fighting, all the bitterness. And then the business ended up thriving because the inner home and the inner world was thriving. But all of that stemmed by that one person taking ownership, making the shift, making the change. The other person saw the impact, saw the changes, then they were inspired to change, because there's a difference between inspiration and motivation. Inspiration is in spirit. It is a pulling. It is this person has risen, and therefore I want to rise and I want to step it up because they inspired me. So I hope to be an inspiration by going first. And that's what leadership is. Leadership is, I'm going to go first. I'm going to go, I'm going to figure out the way, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to guide you guys. I'm going to give you my hand and I'm going to pull you on the other side, because life on the other side is so much better. And motivation is a pushing. And that's why motivation is not a long game thing, but we can learn to leverage off of motivation by incentivizing and bribing ourselves. And every once in a while, we need a nice little push because we drag in our feet in life. But for the most part, most people don't want to be pushed around for very long. That's why inspiration has a greater pull. So when you go first and you lead first, your actions by you showing is going to inspire other people to want to raise above and to also want to raise their ceiling. And that impacted the family, the children, everybody rose up. And because the energy was good and people were thriving, then the business started having a greater impact. And then everything ended up just scaling. So what shifted was the internal, and then the external was the bonus. So shift your expectations and everything else will shift as well. But if you keep these false expectations, I put a clown face emoji in this thing for a reason. I got to hop on an investment meeting right now, but I hope you guys have a blessed up day and you found some inspiration in today's message. If you're watching the replay, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear what golden takeaway, what diamond you received from today, and make sure you follow. And I would love to have you under my wing if you guys want more supportive coaching. You can head over to Tanya C. Oliver, www.tanyacoliver.com/inner circle. And we have our team huddles every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Or if you just want to see, maybe you want to go the route of coaching, or if you want to go the route of self-study, we also have self-study, which is in the link inside of the bio. And for the YouTube and the Facebook, it is tanyacoliver.com/get it done. I forget, I have all these links. Get it done. And I got to get going, but I love you guys. I hope you have a blessed up night. And I will see you guys later. Bye.